That was amazing. Something else that's particularly amazing in my mind is Toronto. At a time when other places in the world are becoming more closed, Toronto remains an incredibly welcoming and cosmopolitan city, and we're incredibly grateful to be here. In conversation with Broadband TV's founder, the incredible Shahrzad Rafati, our first speaker, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau.
Well, it's great to be here. And it's great to have Collision in Toronto with so many entrepreneurs.
Welcome to Toronto, everyone!
It's also a truly honor to sit next to our Prime Minister here. I'm very looking forward to our conversation today, and as the founder and CEO of Rogen TV, who has built a global leader out of Canada. We had our successes and challenges over the last 14 years. And I would say one of the biggest challenges that we face, and I'm sure many of the leaders, Canadian leaders, probably would share this with us, is access to talent. And to be able to actually kind of really access high quality talent quickly enough. When you're looking at November, the unemployment rates reached the lowest point, which is great for our economy, but at the same time, obviously it's making it more difficult for us to really access the best talent quickly enough. So I would actually love to hear your thoughts, Prime Minister, in terms of what are your plans in investing in our local talent and increasing the STEAM seats across universities and colleges, so we actually kind of really see greater success across Canada, not just the tech industry, but as a whole across all industries.
Well, there's no question that as the world is changing to be more of a knowledge economy, more tech, more innovative, access to talent is going to be at the core of success for businesses, for economies, for entire countries. And that's why Canada, even though we've been a country that has always had great natural resources, and we will continue to, we've always layered onto them innovation and talent on top of it. But that's really come to a head recently as we've determined that the Canadian advantage is in providing extraordinarily well-educated, hardworking, forward-thinking, creative, ambitious Canadians to be part of the global economy. So access to talent obviously comes from immigration, and it comes from training up and educating Canadians right. First of all, on immigration, we've seen we're at a time right now where big countries around the world are closing themselves off a little more to immigration at a time where Canada is realizing that we need to stay open, we need to make sure we're drawing in the best and the brightest from all around the world. So one of the things we did was bring in a global skills strategy. So at the same time as the United States, to give a direct contrast, has made it more difficult to bring in global talent into your businesses, into your companies, we've said, well, you know what, if you're bringing in global talent, you're also creating jobs and opportunities for Canadians. So the global skills strategy gives you 2 weeks. It'll take 2 weeks to bring in top talent from around the world in particular industries. So we know that bringing in great immigration from around the world is a big piece of it. But the flip side of it is making sure that we're giving the right opportunities to Canadians. Investing in research and innovation, boosting post-secondary education, making sure there are more coding programs for elementary and high school kids, making sure that we're ensuring that Canadians see a path for them in the technological, the disrupted future we're part of. There's a lot of anxiety that people are feeling all around the world, and it's coming out in all sorts of different ways, whether it's populism, whether it's nationalism, whether it's protectionism. What we're doing in Canada is making sure that there is room for everyone to succeed, everyone to feel like there's a path forward for them and their kids in technology. That's why we can be investing in AI the way we are. We can be investing in tech the way we are. And it's not a source of anxiety for Canadians because they're being brought along with it. And that's a key part of making sure that there is the talent that global companies need when they want to set up in Canada, where we we have an incredible diversity that allows you to plug back in right around the world.
So you touched on global talent stream, and I would say that as a company, 50% of my leadership team, including myself, we're immigrant, first-generation immigrants, and immigration plays a very important role when it comes to, growing the tech sector. But at the same time, speaking of global talent streams, a great program, but the categories of occupation is very limited. It's not as broad. And when you're looking at LMIA and other programs, the process time, ease of entry, and the relevancy of the categorization is not there. I know that we've made a lot of progress, and we had great success with the programs, and I would love to know what are the steps that we're taking to make sure that the same acceleration and process time that we see with the global talent stream, you can see it across all the application programs that are out there.
Well, the Global Talent Program is a small and targeted program for very specific industries, but on top of that, we also take in more immigrants per capita than just about any other Western country in the world. We take in about 350,000 immigrants a year, knowing that drawing in people from around the world who want to build their communities, build a better life for themselves, build opportunities for their kids is a key way to grow. Now, we're always looking at ways of facilitating growing our communities, growing our companies, growing our workforce. We're going to always make sure we're doing it in the right way, though. I mean, we need to make sure that we're drawing in people who are going to be able to contribute and grow, and that at the same time, we keep one thing that's really, really precious and unfortunately a little bit rare right now around the world. Canadians remain positive about immigration. As we see anxieties and worries and people closing in around the world, Canadians know that we get more resilient communities, we get better solutions, we get better innovation when we bring in people from all around the world. That's why we are doing well at a time even of anxiety. We've seen the Canadian economy flourish over these past years. We've seen Canadians' confidence increase in their own future. We've seen the lowest unemployment in 40 years, as you pointed out. We've added 1 million jobs to the economy. And the way we've done that is because we've made sure that there is a clear message that there is room for everyone to succeed, and there are investments that make sure that everyone has a path to success. It's when you start seeing those digital divides of people excluded that we get into troubles as communities and as societies. The kind of world that you're going to be building with the technologies that you're leading, and as you do that, as you lead your way forward, as you create tremendous success for you and your companies, try and think about how you're making sure to bring along the rest of society with you, because if we don't succeed together, we're all going to fail separately.
Thank you so much,
Justin Goldberg and Seth Rogen. Good evening, Collision.
Hello, how are you guys doing? I just want to start by thanking the Prime Minister for being our opening act. That was very nice of him. We asked for someone good. We were hoping maybe Rush, but then they got the Prime Minister, and he killed. So thank you so much.
And we're available to help him out if he ever needs
Yeah, we'll
us.
open for him in return at any time he wants. So.
Well, guys, I'm so excited to be here tonight. My name is Kern Wadera. I'm the managing partner at Cosgrave Capital, a venture fund that focuses exclusively on the cannabis industry, and that is what we're going to talk about tonight. And I am so excited to be here with Seth and Evan. And for those of you who do not know who these two gentlemen are, one, I'd love to know where you've been for the last 20 years, but
I'd like to join you.
but I'm going to give a very quick synopsis, and don't get offended. I'm not going to list everything you guys have done because that would take
Just do the good stuff.
all night. Yeah, exactly. So Seth has a number of acting credits that you're all familiar with: Freaks and Geeks, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Step Brothers, Zack and Miri, Funny People, and soon to be released The Lion King, where you voiced the role of Pumbaa. So excited. And then the two of you have been behind some incredible films as writers, including Superbad, Pineapple Express, and The Green Hornet. And then your production company, Point Break Pictures, has produced another bevy of hits, 50-50, This Is the End, Neighbors, Sausage Party, Disaster Artist, Blockers, and Long Shot, and now and Long Shot, which is in theaters currently with you and Charlize Theron. So you guys have had a busy couple decades.
Yeah, and we've been stoned the whole time. Not right now. Not right now. Of course not. That'd be great. That would be insane.
So we are going to talk about cannabis. That is why we're here. But before we do that, in getting to know you guys over the last couple of months, it's been really interesting to understand this friendship and partnership that's actually been there since childhood. How does that develop, and more importantly, how do you maintain a partnership like that over the course of so many years? Because I'm sure it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. No, it's very actually. We met each other in bar mitzvah class, so we were 12 years old, and we had the mutual Jewishness. Exactly, yeah, which is initially, and we very quickly saw that we had the same creative ambitions. And when you're a very, very young person like that, it's not something you see that often. And so when you are the weird 12-year-old kid who secretly wants to be a writer, and you meet another weird 12-year-old kid who secretly wants to be a writer, you very quickly bond over that. And
that bonding for us was watching movies.
Yeah.
Movies are what brought us together. We just had the same taste,
exactly,
and the same interest in how they were made, how they were written, and the messages they had.
Yeah, we went to high school across the street from a Rogers video.
Around House Planet. Do you think, again, we sit at an interesting seat, we get to see a lot of interesting people benefiting off of the growth of this industry, and obviously it's negatively impacted so many. What more can, even brands and cannabis companies in the US be doing, and what should we be, how can we sort of join this with you on that end and sort of ensure that it's an inclusive industry for everyone?
I think specifically trying to hire people who have been unfairly targeted by this war on drugs, It generally targets marginalized groups at an exponential rate, even though every group of people uses cannabis the same amount. If you're a minority, you're like several times more likely to be arrested for having it. And in America especially, it can be outrageously detrimental to your life. So I think the thing that everyone can start to do is hire people who would be deemed unhirable because of these offenses, and to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And that's something that in Canada we can all do as well. Until their records are deleted, we can make the fact that they haven't yet been deleted meaningless by ignoring the fact that they have these things on their records and hiring them anyway. And again, I think that's something that can be impactful today, not as a hypothetical hope in the future.
The next big thing, it was going to be the future tech capital of the world, and we had to do Collision in Toronto, and we were silly to do it at the very start in Las Vegas. I remember the time calling friends in San Francisco, most of them, just asking them what they thought of this idea. Should we do a tech conference in Canada? And at the time, they just completely dismissed the notion. They thought it was silly. But Sunil is proficient at pestering, and for years he kept telling me that Toronto was the perfect city. There were emails, there were coffees, there were texts, and for years I ignored Sunil. And then finally 2 years ago I just agreed to save my inbox that I would at least just fly to Toronto, exactly 2 years ago this week. I remember driving in from Pearson International Airport, which many of you have done, and just looking out of Sunil's car window, and it had never dawned on me just how big Toronto actually was. I was blown away, and I think it's Canadians are notorious, if that's the right word, around the world for their humility and generally just being very soft-spoken. But the kind of underbelly of that is that oftentimes I think Canada short-sells itself on the world stage. Certainly in the case of Toronto, I was sure in my mind, having met a lot of Texans, that the likes of Dallas and Houston were far more important global cities. But that wasn't the case at all. Toronto... So, over the next 24 hours with Sunil, I met so many incredible startups that I never imagined would exist in Toronto. And I also met an incredible mayor, Tory, who's not just passionate about his city and the Raptors, I should add, but about growing the role of entrepreneurship and startups within Toronto itself. And us, the whole team, eventually to make the decision. It's been an incredible decision and one that we're eternally grateful for. So, Mayor Tory also played a huge role in persuading us to make Toronto and not San Francisco Collision's new home. So please put your hands together and give a huge warm welcome to the Mayor of Toronto, Tory.
First of all, I want to set the record straight on something. Paddy said earlier on that Sunil and maybe my passion for the Raptors, which is very real, by the way, and if you want to go over to Jurassic Park tomorrow night, which is what we call the place in front of the arena, you're welcome there, that was the deciding factor in getting a Collision to come here. It wasn't that at all. It was the presence in my office on a shelf in a place of honor of a rugby ball signed by the Canadian women's rugby team. And he said any mayor that can have a rugby ball in his office, we're moving the conference. That's how these decisions are made. But I want to welcome you all to Toronto. We are absolutely amazed to have you here and to see this event finally thriving in our city. And I thank you very much for coming. We brought Collision to Toronto because we knew it would do a lot for the city, but we hope it will do a lot for you as well. In the House of Commons, we have a bylaw here that requires that your suitcases be inspected when you leave the airport. And this is in order to make sure you've done enough shopping while you're here. So I'm telling you about this to avoid awkward moments at the airport. If you can do the shopping, then you won't be sent back down to be able to catch your flight and go home. So I hope you have a wonderful time in the city. We're thrilled to have Collision here. We thank Paddy and the whole team and Sunil for bringing it here, and I hope you have a great time. Thank you very much.